Hi, welcome. My name is Kathleen Hudson, and I am your guest host this week while Eric is hosting Plein Air Live. Today, my guest is Brienne Brown. Brienne, welcome.
Hi, happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad that you joined us. What are you going to teach us about today?
Today, I thought we'd do some cloud studies because it's so fun. They're fun to do, they're quick. Also, it's good for when you're plein air painting and you want to do an interesting sky, but you might be a little nervous. So if you do cloud studies beforehand, it gets you more confidence for when you go out there and you're like, I'm just going to have fun. So that's what we're going to
Excellent.
do.
And Brienne paints in watercolor and does phenomenal work. Be
Mhm.
sure and go check out her website. But without further ado, let's get this show started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
So as you can see, I am not Eric Rhoads. My name is Kathleen Hudson, and I am your guest host this week while Eric is away. So today our guest, as I've mentioned, is Brienne Brown. She's a phenomenal watercolor artist. She has a video out with Streamline that we'll show you a link to. And she also is teaching at Watercolor Live in January. So you can register for that if you're interested in hearing more from her and a bunch of other phenomenal watercolor artists. You can, today, she'll show us how to paint really expressive skyscapes, and she'll do 4 separate demonstrations so you can see how she does studies quickly, so that she can capture moving skies on plein air out in the field and do that expeditiously and come home with some good fodder for studio paintings. All right, Brienne, take it away.
Okay, so thank you, Kathleen. So excited to do this with you.
This is fun.
It is. So I thought I'd show you a few of these studies that I've done. So sometimes like these ones were done plein air and they're not really like this one had stamps on it. It was a used paper. But so I like to do studies like this to just kind of say, okay, looking at about the sky, I never try to get a perfect sky, but I just kind of try to get the feel of it. This one I did in the studio, just playing with different colors, different values. Um, and just so that when I am faced with a sky like this, when I'm outside, I'm more confident. And what I want to get, like Kathleen said, was expressive skies. And I like to do it in watercolor and just leave it. And that's the thing with watercolor, it's really hard to get the exact sky you want, but that's why I want to go through the process. So early on, this is an old one. I've done many of these. I'll just work on the backs of papers, do various different land. The land doesn't matter as much. I kind of make up landscapes, but it's more about just playing with the different pigments that I have and what kind of skies I can get. So I just thought I'd show you that. And so this is what I'm going to do for you today. We're just going to play and do a couple studies here. So I just have a 16 by 20 watercolor paper here, and I've divided it into 4. I'm not going to draw on it. I'm just going to start painting. And one thing to think about with different types of clouds, different types of skies, just like anything else, it's about, okay, what are the values that you have? Do we have hard and soft edges? When I'm looking at the cloud, that's the type of thing I want to think about. So for this first one, I'm going to do one of my favorite, just kind of typical skies that you see is kind of like with blue sky and then fluffy clouds, right? Those are always fun. So to start with, I'm always going to have some kind of red, yellow, and blue. In this case, I'm going to do a little bit of cobalt blue, a little bit of quinacridone rose right here. And I'm just going to get out pools of these primary colors. And then for my yellow, I'm going to use transparent yellow oxide. This, as a lot of my students or those who have followed me know, this is kind of a common triad for me. I really love it. As you can see, it's not like a bright yellow, but it's a nice warm yellow. And so that's what we're going to do for this first one. But you can play with different pigments, will give you different mixtures for sure. But why do I start with red, yellow, and blue? It's because I have control over mixing my grays. So for instance, the gray of the clouds, the shadow side of the clouds, I want to mix my grays and be able to warm it up, cool it down quickly. And that's what the mixture helps me do. Okay, also I want to mention that I am going to bring in some lavender because I just love that color. It's my favorite color. And it gives a little body to the clouds, and there's a little opacity in it, which you might think, oh, why do you want it opaque? Well, there's just that little bit of milkiness that you kind of get in atmosphere. So I like a little bit of opacity. And since I'm going to be painting thinly, you're not going to see it as thick opaque. Okay, so a lot of times I like, and not all the time, there's not like always something I do, but I do generally like to pre-wet the sky area. Okay, sometimes if it's a really, really dry day, I even wet the back. And for my demo for Watercolor Live, I'll be talking about that. But for today, we're just doing quick studies, so I'm not going to worry about that. Now you notice that I have a little bit of yellow in it. So I'm tinting the white paper a little bit, because clouds, even the white, big, fluffy clouds, aren't necessarily white, or I want a warmer white than the paper gives me. So that's why I like to, a lot of times, tint just very slightly. Okay, so one way I do this is, oh, I should say, sorry, I should mention that I have it mostly flat. I only have this little, there's a, what is it, a 1-inch tape thing that's there. So I have just a slight angle, but not very much. All right, so we're just gonna take, we're gonna add a little lavender to the cobalt blue, a little more cobalt blue, and I'm gonna make a bright blue sky behind the clouds. So I'm gonna take the blue of the sky and go around the cloud shape. And I'm just gonna make this up. This is just in my head. I don't need anything, but I'm just going to shape around whatever cloud I have, okay? And let's have this be a little one over there. Okay, and then as the cloud comes down, we can, or the sky comes down, we can warm that up a little bit, added a little bit of horizon blue.
It's amazing how much cobalt stings as a pigment.
I love cobalt. It's one I go through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the clouds are getting down to the horizon, I'm going to make them a little smaller. But you're just playing with it, and don't worry about trying to force any particular shape. Now I'm going to bring in kind of the shadowed side of the cloud. So I'm just going to say, okay, where's the sun coming from? We're just going to pretend and say the sun's coming from this side, so lighting this side of the cloud. And so underneath, I'm going to have, and to the right, going to have a shadow. So to mix that gray, as you see, I'm mixing red, yellow, and blue with a little bit of lavender. Okay, and if it gets too purpley, then we just add a little bit of yellow to that. Okay, and I'm gonna touch it to my paper towel a little, and then just start bringing in the shadowed side. And you'll notice that it's warmer than that cobalt blue. And so even if the value is very similar, because of that temperature difference, you're gonna, sense that. And I'm touching it right to the blue because I want to get nice soft edges. And with the wet paper, you can do that. If I want to warm it up even more, I can add a little bit of red to that. Okay. And you just, with watercolor, while things are still wet, you can make adjustments. But the key thing is you don't want more water in your brush than is going to be on the paper, because that's when the water is just going to spread out and cause problems. Okay. So now that I just have big shapes like that, I'm going to take a new brush, rinse it out, dab it to my paper towel, get most of the water out so that I can soften even more some of these edges. I can dab it to the paper towel when I want to get rid of more water. And here you can, if you want to, if you lost a little bit of the light that you want, you can lift a little bit. I don't like to lift too much, but if it's just the little areas, then it works pretty well. Soften. So that you have a mix of hard and soft edges. And then you can just get a very, dynamic cloud, dynamic sky. Now, one tip for when you do these studies, make sure you put some kind of land. And it doesn't matter what it is. And for these, I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm just going to get a little bit of green, whatever. But what it does is it sets the mood of the sky. Because without that land, it just kind of, it just kind of floats there, where this helps to put it in place and to see how nice and airy that sky is. So, and these are just, they're so they're so fun and quick. So, you can do that in however many minutes that took. And
that was so fast. I'm feeling slightly jealous sitting here as an oil painter.
I know, right? Things happen so quickly.
They do.
And you can and that's the magic of it, is letting it kind of do what it's going to do. And like, see, I kind of lost that cloud there, but okay, when you're just learning, and you're just trying different ways to see the type of cloud, the feeling of the cloud, then it doesn't matter, right? And you can put, you can pretend, okay, there's a little bush there, you can get a little more in the land. And when you start to get darker values, it even more makes that sky feel more airy and light, right? It lightens it up. So there you go. There's one study. And so again, with doing these, I used to, like, when I didn't always have time to make and sit and do a full painting, doing a bunch of these little studies, like I did here, right, can be just so fun and freeing because you're not worried about the final product. Okay, let's do another version down here. In this case, what I'm thinking of going to do is, because here I did the blue around the cloud and then I did the gray. And this one we're going to do it opposite because it does end up looking a little different. Okay, so I thought we'd do that. So I'm going to use the same, in fact, let's bring out those same colors. Let's bring out a little more pigment. Same cobalt blue, Quin Rose, and trans yellow oxide. Looks like I have enough Quin Rose. It goes a long way. It's so powerful. So I don't usually have to get too much. Okay, so we've got that. That should work. Now I'm going to wet the sky portion again. Okay, just with this big brush. There we go. Okay, now instead, so I'm not necessarily trying to make it just like that, but we're going to do the shadowed side of the clouds first. And I think why it makes a difference, sometimes if I'm doing like a backlit cloud where I have a rim over the whole thing, and maybe we'll do that, maybe it's going to be backlit, the blue gets a little more controlled and less of this, extreme wispiness, which I love that, but sometimes you might not want it. So here I'm going to just grab some gray, again, red, yellow, and blue with a little bit of lavender into it. Cool that down a little. Just get some type of gray. Okay, now, so I'm going to pretend, so now I'm thinking of painting the shadow of the cloud, and I'm going to do a backlit cloud. So I'm going to say I have this big backlit cloud here. Maybe change up. I'm always just thinking of changing the like mixture of the gray, so that there's going to be combination of, it's gray, but there's purplish, there's greenish, there's bluish, there's, all different kinds of variation. And that's what I mean by the control. Maybe there's a little cloud over here. Because with that, instead of just using some pre-mixed gray, and that's what I do for all my paintings, I mix my grays. Okay. So there we go. It's got some kind of,
there's slight variations between warm and cool that play off each other.
Right, it just makes it so exciting, just even right in there. So, okay, now we've got some big cloud. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of horizon blue, just to make the blue a little lighter, along with the cobalt blue. And then what we're going to do is we're going to paint around the rim. But even here, you can see the pigments start to separate, and you get this cool, I don't know, these cool effects. When you pre-wet the paper, you get stuff like that. And so that's kind of fun. All right, so I'm just going to paint around. So this is that rim. It goes around the cloud, and you can make it, sometimes it's bigger than others, sometimes it's softer than others. But it just starts to make sense. But it's just, it's the same type of thing that we did up there, but now instead I've started with the gray part and then brought out the blue of the sky behind it. Okay, that one's kind of weird. If you don't like it, you can kind of just fudge it out, Yeah.
The backlighting is beautiful. Looks like.
Yeah, so like up there is looking great. So you can kind of, while things are still wet, and you can, like, I'm going to just lightly spray, not squirt, 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 but just waft it over there. So it just kind of gives, so it lets it keep moving. Okay, so you get that idea of the light coming behind. And then again, we're just going to make up some kind of back. Now we're going to have it be kind of dark because it's kind of backlit back there. But some kind of land that's down there. And then maybe some bright green. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just to set that base and that tone there. Maybe we'll have it even come up. Yeah. I don't know. It's just fun. So you can see it gives a little different, like it still gets the, I don't even say that fuzzy, the soft edge of the light, but it doesn't move as much. And that's just because I put it on second. So it just let it dry just a little bit more. So it's all about timing of when you want, something there. Now, maybe I would have liked this a little lighter down there on the horizon, but what you can do, and is kind of like I lifted a little bit here. Might just lift a little bit there on the bottom. Just a little bit of water. I'm not pushing very hard. Okay, there. Yeah, so there you go, another cloud study. And again, it's about, if you practice this process and know you're faced with a backlit cloud, you can take a little more time in figuring how to do it, but at least you have the process. So watercolor for sure is about the process and the timing of when something's dry, when it's wet, when you want it damp, all of that. And so doing these studies is what can really give you that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now let's do some different types of skies here. So another one of my favorites is low light where, okay, the sun has gone down, but from behind you. And so you get this beautiful gradation in the sky, and then you get these wonderful shadowed clouds. So this time the clouds are darker than the sky. And though that type of sky is just made for watercolor. I mean, watercolor is made for it. Maybe I should say that. Either way. But and so I'm going to show you how I do those because they're one of my favorites to paint. And then we're going to do sunset. Okay. So for this type, I am going to change the yellow that I use. And it's not like I have exact colors that I use. It's just sometimes if I want a brighter yellow or a nice soft yellow, I like to use Naples yellow as opposed to the transparent yellow oxide. So, but I'm still going to use cobalt blue. Just going to add more pigment. Notice I don't worry about cleaning out my wells because I have lots and lots of water here, so dirty water is not a problem. Okay, and we're just adding more and more pigment. And still I have enough 𝗕𝗿𝗃𝗀𝗃, totally. So that's probably fine. All right, but let's do Naples yellow this time. Now, Naples yellow is also pretty opaque. I only use Naples yellow if I'm going to put it in the sky. I do not like opaque yellows. I have two main yellows in my palette, and that's transparent yellow oxide, and then this yellow lake, bright yellow lake, which is a transparent yellow. But for the sky, in order to get that intensity, you kind of need a little bit of that opacity and some of the white paper coming through to really make it brilliant. So I'll show you what I mean. Okay, let's, again, pre-wet the sky. The reason to pre-wet, and I just pre-wet the sky area, not the whole, you know, the whole paper necessarily. Now, in this case, we're doing mostly sky, just a little bit of land, so it's not really that critical. But a lot of times in the land, I want to maybe want to paint around something, so I usually just do the sky area. Okay, so the idea of this one, and you can get various colors, it depends on what's going on with the weather, but and with the clouds and the sun and all of that, but I'm going to make this gradation of like this lavender into the yellow, and then have these darker clouds over it. So I'll show you what I mean, but you can do this with any color variation. I will add just a titch of a bright yellow to that. And this is going to be right at the horizon. Okay, so we're just going to kind of put that in first. Now we're going to make a lavender of sorts. You can also still add some of that yellow in there. Now I'm making a variation here of a lavender, but yet it's cooler to warmer. I'm going to start with it cooler up top. Now this seems really dark, but because we have because we have water on the paper already, this is all going to lighten a lot more than you think it will. Add a little bit of water, lighten it up even more, and we're going to go right into the yellow and let it kind of blend and mix together. Okay, now I'm going to, I'm picking it up to let it kind of bleed down. And I'm going to turn it around and let it bleed and blend the other way. Just to kind of get, I'm not one to try to get, you know, perfect gradation. I'm not very good at that. and I don't mind seeing little bits of streaks and stuff like that. I mean, to me, it just makes things more exciting. But I do like to let it kind of, you know, gradate a little more, and I just let gravity do the work. Okay. Now what we're going to do is bring in dark clouds. While this is still damp is when you want to do this. And I'm again going to bring in same pigments, but I'm just increasing how much pigment I have versus how much water is in my brush. Now for this, I am going to actually, instead of using the Naples yellow is really for just getting that bright yellow. But for graying down the gray of the cloud, I would prefer the transparent yellow oxide. So I am going to bring a little bit of that in. Okay, and I'm mixing this big mud puddle. I mean, it looks weird, right? I mean, it's like, Brienne, that's not very pretty. But just wait, Okay, and we hope it works. All right. So I'm just going to start with this. I am going to take out a little bit of water. So I don't want too much water in my brush again, because I want the clouds to spread. I'm just going to touch the ferrule, and that kind of sucks out some of the water from here, but not all the water. Okay, so now we're going to come in. Oh, we need it even darker. So we're going to bring in more blue. There we go. Okay, and we're going to, and always, it feels so scary. This kind of thing feels so scary. But that's why you want to practice these little studies. Because to realize how much pigment you actually need to kind of get something that, you know, to give you that expressive look. And in a way, you kind of have to really be bolder than you think. Because remember, it's all going to dry lighter. Adding more lavender. And I'm also going to add a little more of the quin, kind of as I come down, warming it up a little bit more. Okay. More yellow, maybe. And these kind of, if, you know, I get this a lot. People ask me how I don't get mud. And the trick is that variation. Because there's no, even though any one color, if you look at it on here, may not be very pleasant, but because it's mixed with all the other colors, it can, you know, it looks more exciting.
Well, nature is full of grays.
Exactly. Yeah.
How much?
You're the queen
How
of
often
grays.
I like
Well,
a lot of rocks and water, and
exactly.
it's basically nothing but grays.
Right. It's not like these bright, intense colors that, you know, we think we see, but we really don't. Yeah.
I do think local
Okay.
color gets confusing for folks, and that's true of things like waves, and you know, different elements of the landscape, but it's true for clouds too. If you think of clouds as kind of being fundamentally white, then you'll miss out on a whole lot of opportunities for design. And you're doing a great job demonstrating all that color.
And all the grays that are within clouds, you know, clouds are not white. And that's that, you're right. I mean, that's the mistake that a lot of beginners, you know, beginner painters will make, because they just think of clouds. That's the symbol that we tell our kids, right? Clouds are white, sun is yellow, you know, tree bark is brown, you know, and then it gets to be a problem. And but no, there's so much more. And it's not worrying about these grays and all these little things, because when you put them together, then you get, you know, the beautiful mixtures, and you get that beautiful mix of skies and stuff. Anyways, yeah. So I love to do this kind of thing where you get this gradation of whatever it is, and you can, I've done various colors, because you see various colors in the sky. It's so cool. And then you bring in the dark clouds, and because they're all soft, you get all these wonderful soft edges, but there's still a variety within the gray. So there's still interest in that. And we can totally make this up as well. Again, it's just nice to put, and it really doesn't matter, but it's nice to just have some kind of, you know, some kind of land that gives you reference. So
Yeah, it really does anchor the piece, doesn't it?
yeah, it just helps to help it feel like sky. It's just in that relationship, you know. And
Hmm.
leaving some of these little light things you could go back in after, and I could bring in some of the reflection of the yellow down in if I wanted to, and bring some trees again, maybe make them not so green. Adjust that color so it's not so oh, maybe some purple into that, you
We've
know.
got a
But
question on YouTube about whether you ever
oh yeah,
do a wash and then lift clouds with a paper towel.
great question. And my aunt, you know, I used to do that kind of thing a lot, and no, I don't anymore. And the reason is because you can tell the difference between lifting something off in watercolor and painting around something. Because no, I did go in and soften here, and I did lift a couple places. I can actually tell where I lifted, I should say. And I just did it with a brush. But if you do it with a paper towel, you get that look of lifting. So I have done it, but I wouldn't want to do it as the bulk thing. If you can paint around the white part, it will look so much smoother and so much more natural. So that's a great question. And I do think it's a useful thing to do every now and then to get a little, you know, lift a little bit, but I wouldn't do it as your main way to get a cloud. Try to paint around the cloud first. Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I can totally see
Yeah.
how it would create a more uniform surface to work around it instead of lifting, because you've
Hmm.
laid down that beautiful, warm, kind of slight warm tone wash at the beginning. And if you bring a paper towel to it, you've suddenly created an unevenly wet surface.
Right, exactly. And then you get a different, it's a different texture on the thing. And so I personally like the clouds that are soft and, you know, fluid. And so what a towel does is it stops the water and no longer lets it be fluid. And so that's why it gives that different type of look. But yeah, good question. Definitely another reason to play and practice these studies is try it out, and that way you can see the difference. You know, try
Hmm.
one cloud study where you go around it, then try another one where you lift the white out, and then look at the differences to see which you prefer. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so there we go. You know, this type of sky is so fun. It's moody. It's just kind of like, you know, that low light type um, sky, and those are really fun to do again in watercolor. Okay, all right. Well, we have one more, and we are just breezing through.
You're cooking,
This is
Brienne.
so fast. That's why they're so fun. Well, and then it doesn't really matter. I mean, you mess one up, it's like, okay, you just move on, do another one. And you could do it on the back of this. So after this totally dries, you could flip it over and do another four. You know, so you know, don't worry about wasting paper. Try to get that out of your head, because it's not about wasting paper. It's the act of practice. It's that you're getting a lot out of it, right? Okay. So for this one, I thought we'd do a sunset. So here we're going to have even lower light in a way, and different colors. So again, it's about finding the different types of clouds and skies, and there's a lot more than what I'm doing here. Um, but and then you kind of play with things. So for example, what I want to say is I'm going to use some
Ooh.
different colors. So I I have, you know, I have basically two reds, a warm and a cool. I have two different yellows, warm and a cool yellow. You know, I have the Naples yellow for specific things, you know, and then I have warm and cool blues and stuff like that. Um, this one, this one right here is my basic quinacridone rose, right, with the cobalt blue and the trans yellow oxide. And you can see it tends towards the purple. It gets things really purple, which sometimes I want that and like it. But in a sunset, I don't want it as purple. I really want to get to that more grayish, and you'll see why, what I mean. It gets a deeper red too, and so I use this red here, which is, I believe, a Scarlet Lake. And then when I mix it with the Scarlet Lake with the Naples yellow, you can see I'm getting those bright yellows and bright oranges that I want for a sunset. So I'm going to be changing my red from the Quinn Rose to the Scarlet Lake. Can I think while I'm talking? Sometimes
Talk and paint at the same time. It's
I know
the
it gets a
signature
little
challenge of doing a
confusing.
demo. You're doing great.
Oh, good. Okay, so we're
We
just
had a
gonna
question online about whether you
yeah.
teach online, and I happen to know that you do, but do you want to share some information
Yes.
about your online
Oh, I
mentorships
would
or
love
teaching?
to. Yeah, yes, I do teach online. I have a mentorship program that has just started, so I do it once a year. I have a limit of 15 students, but and then I sometimes will do online workshops that I'll teach here and there. I haven't done it, didn't do one last year, but I might do one next year, so probably in the fall. But it's something to look for. But yeah, and then I do have, you know, a club that I have online on my website, so you can go check that out too. All right.
Fantastic, and that's BrienneMBrown.com.
That is, so yes, I'm glad you brought that up. That is my paintings website. You can get there from there. You can online learning, there's a tab, but it's also travelingcolorsstudio.com.
Oh, excellent.
Is my
I'll drop that
actual
link too.
teaching, is my actual teaching website. You can get to it from my painting website too. But yeah, my Traveling Color Studio. All right, so now for this one, what I'm envisioning is kind of that the sun's going to be behind the clouds. I don't do very well with painting the sun, the direct sun, like you can in oil. Like I've seen oil paint. I mean, it's just fabulous where you can get that, real intense and that, light luminosity. I can't, it's really hard to get that for me. Maybe I just need to practice more, and I believe that. But what I'm going to do, I like the effects of the light. So the sun is still going to be kind of behind the clouds, but it's going to be that time where the sun is really going down. And so there's the warm glow coming through the clouds. That's the idea that I'm trying. Oh, sorry, my son just came in.
Gotta love the kid interruptions.
Gotta love the kids. All right, it's okay. He's gonna go get dad. Okay, so let's get some of this Naples yellow again. But this time we've changed the red to the Scarlet Lake, and then we still have Cobalt Blue. Cobalt Blue is just my favorite. It's my workhorse blue for the sky, at least. I do have ultramarine, but I'll use that in the land. Okay, I am still going to wet the sky again. And just with some, I'm not going to worry about warming this one up too much because I'm not having any white. I'm not really going to be having any white on this one. So I'll be covering it all up. But again, if I did have white of a cloud, I would make sure I tint that white, and usually I tint it warm. Okay. Now let's get this really nice bright yellow. This is where I probably should clean out my water, but it's okay. There we go. A little cleaner. Okay, so I'm going to kind of envision the sun being about right here. And I'm going to start by doing, it's going to seem weird, but I'm kind of doing a rim around the lightest area right here. And I'm going to kind of paint around the back part. Then I'm going to bring in the clouds, the darker clouds afterwards. Okay, now I'm going to bring in some of this red to get kind of a nice orange. And all this is still wet, and so it's going to keep, I'll get some pink. It's going to keep moving and blending, especially since I have it kind of in an angle. Okay. I know this seems weird right now. And hopefully it'll work. We'll see. Okay, now we're gonna get, we want some blue, but not like cobalt blue. I'm gonna actually bring a little bit of this turquoise into it, kind of a more turquoisey blue. Turquoisey blue, is that a color? I don't know. First, I'm gonna bring a little kind of cooler purplish red. Just kind of come in here. Now we're gonna get some of this blue up top. But it's not a pure cobalt blue, like a greenish blue. All this is going to be in the background. We'll just blend those together. Can kind of give it a squirt. Okay. All right, now, so this doesn't look like much, but now I'm going to bring in some clouds and we're going to build up some variation. Okay, but to do this, I really don't want to bring in more water. So I should have done this probably on that one, but it still worked out pretty well. But I'm going to use a synthetic brush because I can control the water in my brush a little better. All right, so now I am going to, with the clouds, bring in more cobalt blue. And we can go ahead and mix some of this, and again, bring in some of the lavender. The clouds are cooler up top, and then they're going to get warmer as they come down, and as the light of the sun comes through that. Okay. All right, so let's just get this. Oh, we need more pigment. Again, remember, you want to go darker than you think because it all dries lighter and it messes with your head. Now, as this cloud comes down, leave a little hole there, I'm going to be getting more purplish. I'm going to add more red into that.
We've got a question about which weight paper are you using from?
Yeah, 140. And this is just arches.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, let's bring in a cloud over here. And some of these colors are going to mix into the color of the cloud that I'm bringing on that as well. Okay, now let's bring in some more oranges and reds into this cloud. Okay, and on the bottom of this one, you can touch in so that it's getting some of that warmth getting pushed up into the bottom of the clouds.
Oh, this is looking beautiful. We are going to wrap up pretty soon here since we're 44 minutes in, but you're just about there. So we'll give you
I am almost done.
Minutes.
Okay, here we go. We'll finish. Thank you. I wasn't sure how much time we had, but as you get close to the light of the, I want more and more yellow, more like yellow and orange, basically.
Oh, wow, this sings. I love this one.
And then you just get that glow, and then let's just quickly, this is one, I'm just going to put a nice reddish tint right where the light is going to hit, and then you're going to get darker. All right, whatever. So I'm going to use some ultramarine blue to get darker
You're
side.
good. You're good. Don't feel
I'm
too
hurrying.
rushed.
It's okay. No, I'm rushing. It's all right.
Oh my gosh.
And
Oh, that
then
looks awesome.
there
Yeah,
you go.
no.
And then
So
you see how
you're
you get the
doing this.
land in. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh gosh, I was going to say,
What were you
so
gonna say?
you're doing this all from your imagination because you've
Yes.
looked at sky gradients so much at different times of day that you know what happens and when shifts,
Yes.
from warm to cool occur.
Right, exactly. And so if you don't have as much of that experience, right, of getting out and seeing the shifts that occur, what you can do is take a lot of different photos of different light conditions. And this is what I've done, is then you don't try to copy the sky exactly. Try
Mm-hmm.
to mimic it and get, like you say, the temperature gradients, what are the colors that I'm seeing, make those observations, and then you just try your best. And then it is what it is, and it ends up being more expressive than me trying to force it. Yeah. So there we go. I think
Oh
that one's
wow.
done.
Well, these thing, this was such a great instructional thing. I don't think I'd ever painted skies in watercolor without lifting, using a
Oh,
paper towel,
yeah.
but I love the effect because you can see the movement so well.
Right. Letting the water kind of do the work. Do the work
Mhm.
for you. Yeah. Well, cool.
Awesome.
Do you want,
Well, wonderful
do we
work.
have
And
more time?
we had one more question, which is how do you stop your
Yeah.
palette from beating up? I guess it's probably
Oh,
a plastic palette that doesn't
that,
do
yeah,
that.
if you have a plastic palette, and that happens a lot when you get a new palette, wash it with a little bit of alcohol. You can also, wash off the surface, and sometimes just soap and water can help. And just over time, like, it stops beating. But I just think there's something on the plastic that just has to be wiped off. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's
Well,
what I would
thank you.
say.
I really appreciate seeing this. And we've got lots of glowing comments on Facebook and YouTube. So I'll probably
Awesome.
revisit those soon and see if there are any questions that we didn't answer. But yeah,
Okay.
nice work, Brienne.
Thanks. It was fun. Yeah,
Brienne and I are
enjoyed
going
it.
to be in a museum show in Steamboat Springs, Colorado next year, and we'll each have 15 or 20 paintings in the show. So we're doing that
It's
along
going to
with a
be
couple of other
so great.
artists.
Here. Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it will be fun. And yeah, well, thanks for hosting me, Kathleen. It was
Of
really fun to be
course.
together.
Yes, thank you so much for a great demo. So don't forget to visit Brienne's
Thanks.
website. That is briennemBrown.com. And then her teaching website, which is travelingcolorsstudio.com.
Yep.
And you can follow her on Instagram. That's Brienne Brown Artist. You can get her video seascapes in oil and watercolor at painttube.tv. And she's going to be on Watercolor Live faculty. So you don't want to miss that. That's going to be January 20th to 23rd, 2026. And you can sign up at watercolorlive.com. So yeah, thanks again. That was such a treat to have you on
Yeah.
Art School Live.
You're welcome. That was fun. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, happy painting, Brienne.
Thanks. You too, Kathleen. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye. So that was a fantastic demo. And thank you all for joining us for that. And I do have a gift for you. You can download the free ebook, 10 Simple Tips to Master the Use of Watercolor. Go to americanwatercolor.net/ebook. If you haven't signed up for Planner Live, you still have time. It's happening this week. It's November 6th to 8th, and then you can do Essential Techniques Day on November the 5th. It's 3 days to fast track your journey to outdoor painting. Sign up at plannerlive.com. So we'll watch this short video about it so you can learn some more.
Every artist knows the frustration. You want to grow, to break through, to see your paintings come alive. But too often you're painting alone, stuck in the same routines, not knowing what's missing. Photos lie, books only go so far, and it can feel like the true secrets of painting are locked away. But what if, in just 3 days, you could watch the world's top plein air and landscape painters, brush in hand, showing you every step of their process? What if you could ask your questions and learn the techniques it took them decades to master without ever leaving home? This November, join us for Plein Air Live, the world's largest online painting conference. You'll learn from legends like 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗃𝗃, Cindy Barron, Kathleen Hudson, 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗃𝗃, Bill Davidson, Mike Hernandez, and dozens more hand-picked masters. Across 3 days, plus an optional Essential Techniques Day for a guided refresher, you'll watch demonstrations, join interactive breakout rooms, and even paint along in evening sessions with new friends from around the globe. This kind of lineup will never happen again. You could spend tens of thousands traveling to workshops and still never gather this much talent in one place. But at Plein Air Live, it all comes to you. Don't miss your chance to grow, to connect, and to be inspired. Join us at Plein Air Live, November 6th through 8th, 2025.
So yes, please join us this week. It'll be fun. My demo is from near the summit of Pikes Peak, so it involves some logistical challenges that usually you won't experience plein air, but there's always something to learn from going outside and forcing yourself to do things on location, and work quickly because of changing weather, because of all the challenges we have on location that force us to work a little bit faster and make decisions more expeditiously. Don't forget to subscribe to Art School Live on YouTube, and it's Eric Rhoads on Instagram. So you can also visit my website, that's Kathleen B. Hudson, and you can follow me on Instagram at Kathleen B. Hudson. You can find my videos on PaintTube TV, and that's creating dramatic atmosphere in landscapes and waterfall secrets. Thank you all so much for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow. Speaking of Eric,